Friends, in this very important session, I am going to do an in-depth analysis of CAG's constitutional mandate. This is an important topic because Comptroller and Auditor General as a constitutional office has remained in news for past 12 years in different way. For the first time in constitutional history of India, the period of 2008 to 2014 has gone down as a period of CAG's activism. During this period, we saw that CAG, in the name of auditing government's account, started calculating presumptive losses, and based on that, they were able to expose and bring in forefront many scams. But later on, those scams impacted the elections, but those losses which were highlighted by the CAG were only presumptive. They were not actual loss. This does not mean that there was no foul play. There was foul play, but CAG calculated presumptive loss and common people cannot understand. So, this is why many experts were of the view that CAG has crossed the boundary which is for it under the framework of constitution. CAG cannot calculate presumptive loss. CAG should only see whether there is any problem in the book of accounts of government or not. So, we will have to understand all these things in a better way. Not only that, recently, very recently, the former IS officer who was appointed as Lieutenant Governor of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, he resigned and was appointed as new CAG of India or 14th CAG of India. That appointment has also left behind some unanswered question. Because of all these developments, it's very important for all of you to have very clear understanding about CAG's constitutional mandate. Already you are aware about the functions and the duties of CAG, and by now you know very well that primarily CAG is there to audit the account of government. But friends, I would just like you all to understand this, that even when we are using this word audit, there are different kind of audits, right? There are different types of audits. If you see the types, then three important type of audit. One is regulatory audit, which is also many a times referred as legal audit. But second type of audit is propriety audit. Propriety audit. And the third type of audit is performance audit. And outside this, you must be aware social audit, where people will, do the audit, but we are talking about technical people doing audit. Technically, audit is of three different types: regulatory or legal audit, propriety audit, performance audit. Now, what you need to understand, whenever we are using this word regulatory or legal audit, see, regulatory or legal audit is to ensure whether money spent was legally available or not, legally available or not, and whether it was duly authorized duly authorized by competent authority or not. Competent authority or not. Okay, this is what is the purpose of legal audit, right, where the auditor will see that the money which was spent, whether it was spent after it was legally available, and while it was being spent, whether the competent authorities have approved the expenditure or not. They have followed the legal process of expenditure or not. Okay, whatever is the legally prescribed procedure for expenditure, whether those procedures were followed or not. This is what happens in the name of regulatory or legal audit. Okay. But when it comes to propriety audit, okay, so propriety audit is to look into wastage, or the most important word, extravagance. Extravagance. And friends, believe me, if we do proper propriety audit, then most of the officers in this country, they cannot withstand the scrutiny if the scrutiny is on propriety audit. I will give you some example, then only you will understand. See, tomorrow some of you will become an IAS officer. Okay. Now, after becoming an IAS officer, whenever you will travel for government duty, you will be entitled for air travel. So, if you are doing the air travel because you are entitled under the law that as and when need arise, if this rank and above officers will travel, they can avail air services. Now, this can withstand the regulatory or legal audit. But when it comes to propriety audit, what happens, right, that let us say you are posted in Delhi and you have to go for a meeting, in Bangalore, which is at 1 p.m. Now, if you if you tell the PA of yours that book a air ticket for me, and then you should tell the PA that I have to travel in the morning so that I reach Bangalore before 11, so that at meeting place I can reach by 1 p.m. And while telling your PA, this, if you say that look for the cheapest ticket, then this action of yours can withstand propriety audit. But if you tell your PA that I want to go comfortably at 8:30 to 9 p.m. look for any aircraft. If any flight is at 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., I would like to travel because I don't want to get up too early in the morning. Now, had this been your personal travel, then what you would have done? You would have seen in which flight cheapest ticket is there. Even if it is in the morning 4 a.m., you will get up by 12 noon or 12 midnight and will get ready, rush to airport and will catch that flight at 4, will reach to Bangalore by 7. You will have a cup of tea outside the airport, then will wait, take some rest, and then will approach to the meeting place and will attend the meeting and will come back. But since it is a government, this is what is propriety audit. I feel that, we should only see in propriety audit whether while you are spending government money, are you governed by the thought that this is my money? So, whenever we do propriety audit is for which purpose? To see, to find out cases of wastage, to find out cases of extravagance. Okay, that is what falls within the ambit of propriety audit. I am sorry to say, but I will say that many action of Prime Minister, ministers, civil servants and many other chief ministers of states, governors cannot withstand the scrutiny of propriety audit. Okay. But you should understand the meaning of propriety. So propriety audit is to look into cases of wastage and extravagance. And when it comes to performance audit, the performance, right, the performance must be, or the final outcome, the performance or final result or outcome must be in accordance with expenditure done. Okay, that is what is the meaning of performance audit. Now let us say that somebody is staying in remote part of India preparing for civil service exam against all odds, and one aspirant who is born in a well-to-do family has studied in the best of the schools of the country, and then if the person who is preparing in rural part of India from a lower middle class family, and if that student is qualifying, what we will say? That his performance is exemplary. So whenever we do performance audit, what we do? We see whether this final outcome, whether this final result, whether this performance, whether this achievement is in accordance with the quantum of expenditure which has been done or not. Okay, done or not. And let me tell you that when CAG is auditing government's account, CAG should audit government accounts from all the three perspective of audit, that is regulatory and legal audit. It should also do propriety audit, it should also do performance audit. You know why, right? You know why. There is a, there is a valid reason. Because even if you, even if you see the mission of CAG, this constitutional office, right? If you see the mission of CAG, what you will find? You will find that, under the mandate of Constitution, or under the mandate of Constitution, CAG should promote accountability, transparency, and good governance through high quality auditing and accounting. Auditing and accounting, and provide, this is what is the mission of CAG, and provide independent assurance, independent assurance to all stakeholders and stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders for CAG? Stakeholder is executive, legislature, and the most important is people. And what assurance they should give? They should give assurance, right, that public funds are being used efficiently for intended purpose. This is what is the mission of the CAG. All of you should remember, right, that under the mandate of the Constitution, as per the provisions of the Constitution, as per the framework of the Constitution, CAG should promote accountability, transparency and good governance through high quality auditing and accounting, and thereby provide assurance to all its stakeholders that public funds are being used efficiently for people for intended purpose. And when it comes to the stakeholders for CAG, legislature, executive and people, they are the main stakeholder for this constitutional office. This is the reason why I feel that if we do the liberal interpretation of the provisions mentioned in the Constitution about the duties of the CAG, we can definitely say that CAG is there to promote transparency, accountability and good governance through high quality auditing and accounting. And it has to provide this assurance to all its stakeholders, that is the legislature, the executive and the people of the country, that public funds are being used efficiently and for the intended purpose. Now, if we know this, we can definitely reach to this conclusion that while they are auditing the account of government, whether it is union government or any state government, it should not confine itself to regulatory and legal audit only, but it must go beyond regulatory and legal audit to propriety audit, performance audit. But having said this, I would just like you all to even say that even in the name of performance and propriety audit, CAG should never question policy per se. If CAG will question policy per se, then that will be termed as CAG's activism. They cannot question. Okay, they cannot question. I would give you an example. Okay, I would give you an example. CAG cannot say that government of India is not taxing air in India, and this is why the government is incurring loss of 20 lakhs crore. Because CAG cannot suggest government that please tax air, everybody is breathing air. If you tax 1 paisa per month, every person will have to pay 12 paisa. Okay, and rich people should pay more tax. So government can earn money by taxing air. This cannot be suggested by CAG. Okay, let me tell you, there was one scam. That scam became famous, infamous, whatever you may say, in the name of Coalgate. Because that scam was related with allocation of coal blocks for mining by government. And there were allegations that there was foul play and some favor was given to some people and some industrial houses. Now, let me tell you, when CAG said that you have allotted, right, you have allotted coal blocks to companies at a cheaper price, At that time, the Prime Minister of India was Dr. Manmohan Singh. For the first time, we saw Dr. angry and agitated Manmohan Singh in one of the function at CAG said that please don't suggest what should be the right policy as far as coal mining is concerned. And he said, yes, we have allocated coal blocks at cheaper price because we want, right, coal to be available in market at cheaper price. If coal will be available in the market at cheaper price, then electricity generation will be cheaper. If electricity generation will be cheaper, then consumption of electricity will be more, and if consumption of electricity will be more, then it will accelerate the pace of economic growth and development in the country, because, right, because more manufacturing, meaning more product in the market, more consumption, and if more product is consumed, government will get more tax.